Hello, good day, everybody. Hope today is good. So today we're going to be looking at a few things. Welcome to the stream. So in this stream, we're going to be considering quite some few items. Okay, so my name is Victor, and I'm going to be anchoring on this stream. Now, this stream is about a book review. It's an awesome book. I just got in contact with yesterday, so I thought it wise to review that with my fans, with my subscribers. So this is the book. The book is Shine. The title of the book is Shine: A Vision for Life and Work That Impacts Eternity. So, okay, I attended this conference. The name of the conference is Shine Conference 2025, and the title is Next is Now. Okay, so there comes a time in the life of anyone that we actually want to make impact. So, if a business owner, if you run a business, or you're an employee, or you do one thing or the other, you will always want to see how you can make impact. You always want to see how you can make a difference. So I'm going to be reviewing a few things I learned from the conference. So the conference held in Abuja, Yadwa Center. It was coordinated by a group called the Leader Team. So the Leader Team is a group of entrepreneurs that started seeing how can they make some kind of impact, how can they see how to give back to the society, how can they make sure that the principles that they use in running their businesses are biblical principles, are principles that can stand the test of time. So there are a few things I want to share. They are going to be on leadership, they are going to be on entrepreneurship, they are going to be on redemptive entrepreneurship, they're also going to be on working genius, scaling business. How do you ensure that you scale your business? How do you ensure that you go from manager to leader? How do you raise capital when money is not enough? Then purposeful leadership. So these are the few things I'm going to touch. I will concentrate on 3 items: manager to leader. I'm also going to look at when money isn't enough. I'll also look at purposeful leadership. So I'll share some insights that I gained from the conference. Then I'm also going to go through just the most important lessons and how you can apply them that I've learned from the very first chapter. Next Sunday, I'm also going to look at subsequent chapters in the book. And I'm also going to have a library, whether it's at home or at work. I have an extensive library. So I'm also going to try to see how I can be reviewing some very, very important books that can help you. And most importantly, it's not just to review the books, is to see how can you apply the lessons from this book. Whether you're into tech, whether you're into business, whether you're trying to build a career, whether you're trying to expand what you're doing. I've done business for the past, if I'm to count, 2007, 2008, so roughly around 18 years. So there comes a time when you are working, there comes a time when you are doing a lot of things, and it's you get to a point where, though money is so important, but money is not everything that counts. I've started having this kind of nudge for the past 4-5 years. And when I tell people that, okay, I want to retire, they say, this young man, why you say you want to retire? You start telling people that, okay, I want to do something that's going to stand the test of time, or you want to do something that's going to make a lot of sense. Like 3-4 years ago, no, 2 years ago, we started a program we call CIFSAD, Klakachi Initiative for Sustainable Development. So you can check cifsad.com.ng. You can try and type that in the comment section, cifsad.com.ng. So that was a program we did for persons with disability. Everybody's going to say, okay, I have these issues, I can't, I need a lot of money, I need to take care of my parents, I need to take care of my siblings, I need to take care of myself. People will have one issue or the other. But the thing is that you are always far better than quite a lot of persons. You are far better than a lot of persons. And when we say you're far better than a lot of persons, some people will say, okay, yes, I need to achieve a lot. I need to be able to fix a lot of things in my life and all of that. But the thing is going to be that you have quite a lot of persons that, I mean, we are the world is around 8 billion if I'm not mistaken. So you are far better than at least 5-6 billion. Yes, if you're watching this video, you are far better than persons in their billions across the world. So you're going to be asking yourself, if am I going to, is it all going to be about money? Am I going to just make a lot of money, make a lot of money, make a lot of money? So over the years, because I'm into tech training solutions, certifications. I've trained persons in very low, persons high, retirees, very young kids. I've mentored persons in the government, in agencies, ministries, departments. I've trained persons in the presidency, in the military. I've trained quite a lot of persons, different categories of persons. Now, in the past few years, one thing is always going to be very important to me, and for my students, part of the first things I'm going to say is going to be why I'm doing this stuff. It's so that to ensure that there is a lot of impact. I just trained some persons in Castina. We trained for the government. We trained about 100 and something women on digital skills and all of that. And part of the first things I said was to tell the ladies and said, yes, I've been training for quite a lot of time. I'll be mentoring people, businesses, individuals. The question I'm always going to ask is, what are you going to do with these lessons? How are you going to better yourself, one, but not just about yourself? How are you going to ensure that you can make a lot of impact in the world? So this has been my concern for a very long time. So I was opportune to be nominated for this conference. So like I said, it's called the Shine Conference 2025. And what I had to do was, everything that was done in that conference resonated very well with me. So I'm going to review this book for the next let's say 3-4 weeks, and once I'm done, and for each session, depending on the traction that we get, don't forget to share this invite to as many. I'm going to be giving out some scholarships. I'm going to be giving out some programs for the program we already have. So we have a sustainability program that we have within the company for mentorship, for training. It's based on the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. 10-15 years ago, it used to be called MDGs. So MDGs is Millennium Development Goals. So now we now call it Sustainable Development Goals. So it's going to be based on that. So we'll look at how to have a group based on the reviews we are having, and maybe on the book reviews, and we'll see how to mentor the person based on all of the books we're going to be reviewing. So we're going to be reviewing biblical based books. We're going to be reviewing business books. We're going to be reviewing things about raising capital, about growing business, team management, and all of that. Yes, this channel is about tech certifications and all of that. So, but I'm going to dedicate a part of the channel to talk about how do you have a lot of productivity? How do you improve your life? How do you ensure that you make the most of every opportunity that you have? So I'm going to be sharing a few things from the conference. So the very first thing I want to share from my notes. So you see, I made some notes. So I will just go over them with you, and I believe that you will learn quite a lot from it. Now, one thing you want to also make sure that you achieve in life is to make sure that you get to a point in your life where you can help others. You get a point in your life where you can make a lot of impact. Because just last week I dropped my kids off at school, just on the road to work. I've not driven for like 100 meters. So I saw a man that man should be between 58 to 65 years old. No, he was carrying a young guy. That boy is roughly around 5 years. So I told them to hop in. because I know the school is a little bit, the school is about 3-4 kilometers away from that particular point. So I actually don't know where they were trekking from. So I just told the man, I said, okay, I wind down, say, come in. So he came in, I drove in to the gate of the school. I asked for direction, drove into the gate of the school, and I asked, so he was like saying, okay, I should just drop at the junction leading to the school. I said, no, I'll take you to the school. He doesn't take anything. And that's one thing about impact. Most impact that you can make might take a little from you, so much from you, and at times almost nothing. Because there's what we call competitive advantage. There's what we call beneficial change. So a lot of things, just like people eat a lot of food and they throw a lot of, like this afternoon I took my wife preferred very, very peppered kind of fries. Yes, I ate. The kids are out on holiday. There was still some little crumbs left. Now you see that little crumbs that you have left, both for mine and the one for my wife. There are some persons that are waiting just to have that, and they will be fine for the entire day. So you see, for instance, that particular thing, it's not going to make so much impact to me. Same thing with that man I said just last week I picked to school. Me trying to drop them right inside, because I had to drive them inside the school. How much fuel I'm going to consume is not going to be a big deal, because most of the times when I drive for so many years, I don't pick people along the road. I just, once I drop my kids, I just head straight to work. Once I'm done, I blow empty and get back home. So I don't want to, except back then what I used to do is that I will be watching on the road to see if I can see anybody that I know, or maybe see a woman that is heavily pregnant. Those are the kind of persons that can make me stop. Aside that, once I'm on the throttle, straight home, I want to just spend 20-30 minutes. I don't want to be picking somebody and dropping off. I don't want to do that. So the point I'm trying to make is that help you're actually offering is not going to take so much from you. Okay, so let's look at the very first lesson, from manager to leader. So everybody wants to be at the very top. So, but what does it mean to be a manager? What does it mean to be a leader? So what you need to understand is that there needs to be a lot of mindset shift. A leader is somebody that's going to have a vision. I've run several companies for the past 18 years, and I've learned a lot of lessons managing people. That's why at times when I see some things, some people behave in a certain way, some people act in a certain way. Most of the time it's nothing new to me. I've had opportunities to hire people, to mentor people. People will disappoint you. I've had to fire a lot of persons. There are persons I even do a lot of training, give them time to change. I remember a particular time I was very busy out of the office, the company, for like weeks, trying to get some jobs, win some contracts and all of that. I came back and I found out that most of the employees, this was far back as 2014. I found out this around 11 years ago. I found out that the persons, the team members, then they were kind of, how will I put it now? They were majoring on the minors and minoring on the majors. I didn't wait a blink. I fired everybody. Now, a leader is always going to have a vision of where the entire company is going to. If you're a mom at home, if you're a dad at home, if you are a leader in your church or your workplace, what makes you a leader is because you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead. And once you can see that, you can understand that leadership is actually the new management. A leader is going to have a vision, look ahead. A manager is going to look at that vision and see how to become reality. But most of the times, when you tend to be at the very top to try to achieve these things, and you don't see reality coming to pass, what's going to happen? You want to ensure that you are actually doing. Part of my principle in life is that I've done so many things in medical. I have a medical consulting firm. I have something on agro. I have something on properties. I have something on tech. I have something on co-working spaces within Nigeria. One thing I've always made sure that I ensure happens is that I don't want to get into anything that I don't have a good amount of knowledge in. Because what's going to happen is that you might be able to lead, but you might not be able to manage. Any leader that can actually lead and manage is going to be a very, very good leader. Imagine telling somebody to do something and that particular thing you can't do it. It's kind of an anomaly. Except you've grown to a point where you now have very, very capable leader, where you just need to have an idea, a little bit idea about what you are doing, then you can have others take charge. So leadership is a new management. So if you want to be a good leader, you must have a full grasp. I've had instances where you see employees, you see people that you work with or people you've committed things to, and they get to feel that, okay, if they're not there, people start feeling kind of indispensable. If they're not there, things are going to go wrong. I remember a young guy that I gave a scholarship for. I was mentoring. He used to be a student of ours. So of course, he's a young guy. He's about going to school. So he said, okay, he wants to intern, he wants to work and whatever. So I looked at everything. I said, okay, fine. So I gave him the opportunity. Of course, I was paying him for all of the tasks he was doing, mentoring him, giving him more training. If he was going to take on those trainings, of course, he's going to be spending roughly around between $300 to $500. In Nigerian currency, as at that time, he should be spending roughly between 500,000 and above. So he was getting a lot of those training, those mentorship. Do you know what happened? I was just at work, very, very busy in a particular day. The guy wrote me a note, like a letter, and dropped at my desk. Of course, I was very busy for the day. And at the end of the day, before I left the office, I went and picked the letter. I guess what I saw something like that he no longer wants to work with us, blah 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 blah. Reason, no reason. I was trying to think. I was trying to think about if I had the kind of opportunity that he had. This opportunity that people in my mail, in my WhatsApp, in my SMS, people call me every day, every other day, and say, okay, I want to come and intern, I want to. But because for us, part of the principles that we have in any of my companies is that we don't want somebody to come without being paid. We don't like you to come without getting paid or getting a form of stipend. It's so that there is responsibility. We normally run this program in our offices. We call it. We have the programs for students that are still in the universities. We also have programs for persons that are graduates. Like we're going to be picking up enrollment for persons that want to do tech internships from January. But 2 times every year, 3 times every year, we pick persons that undergo what we call SIWIS. In Nigeria, it's called SIWIS. It's like Students Industrial Work Experience Scheme. For our SIWIS programs, students have to pay. So it's a way for us to like reduce the number of enrollments we have. So what we do is that token they pay, we give them like times 3 value of that payment they make, and make sure that they get good amount of experience that they will never get in most places. Now, for the graduate internship programs, most of those students, they don't pay a dime. Or for a few coppers that we have that work with us, they don't get to pay a dime, and they get access to a lot of trainings. They get access to global certifications that cost hundreds of dollars, because we are partners to a lot of bodies like Google, CompTIA, and all of that. So you see this guy, he had an opportunity, but I don't know, at times you might have an opportunity and you just feel that, oh, I can do better or I can be better. You skip the part where you need to learn, where you need to be mentored. I didn't know what I said when I saw that letter that evening, because in the letter he said, okay, that he no longer wants to work. But he has some pending tax he was working on, that, of course, which he was paid for, that he's going to allow the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and once he's done, he will be leaving. Do you know what I told him? I called him and told him that he can leave right now. The reason why I was able to do that, I told him to just, you are done. You don't need to come back to work. You can come back the next day, pick up your items, and you can be gone. The reason why I was able to do that was because there is nothing he can do that I myself or any other person within the company cannot deliver. That's the principle of a leader being also a manager, a leader being also able to deploy most of those things. So leadership is the new management. Leadership is a strength, not a position. So it's because you have capacity. That's why you can call yourself a leader. Now, another thing I want to also talk about is passion. A lot of people are going to be saying, okay, if you want to be successful in life, you need to have a passion. You need to have a passion. People come to my office with a lot of ideas. They want to do a lot of things. Sorry. Somebody says, I have passion for this. Let me tell you, passion cannot make you money. Right? Passion cannot make you money. So there's something I learned from the conference. Okay. There's something, I was checking my time. There's something I learned from the conference, that passion doesn't lead to profit, but solutions to problem. So if you're following the live stream, you can just type that in the comment section. Passion does not lead to profit. And why is it that passion does not lead to profit? Because most of the times, if you are just driven by your passion, what is going to happen is that if your passion, let's say your passion is about making water bottles, right? Now, if nobody needs this water bottle, forget, you're never going to make any money from that. If nobody needs this water bottle, no matter how passionate you are about that, you will make no dime. So if you want to make money, either as a leader, as a manager, as an employee, you need to look at what frustrates you. One of the things I learned about in the conference, you have to look at what frustrates you. What is it the problem? Like, I am trying to work on a new program, a new startup that's going to be a subsidiary of our training institute. So it's going to address something that has to do with remote work. A lot of people want to do remote work. They don't know how to get to do that. They don't know how to get prepared. Then a lot of people want to get scholarship opportunities, because funding, if you want to fund your study abroad endeavor, you're talking about thousands of dollars. It's a problem. So if you try to solve that particular problem, you make money out of it. Even if you have 1,000 persons and they pay you just $2-3, and you have 1,000 persons, that's $3,000. So if you can have 1,000 persons pay you $3, that is $3,000 every month. That's a side income. So if you build something around it, then you have a consistency of income, because that solves a problem. So if anything you are doing does not solve a problem, I can bet you make no money. So if you want to make money, look for a problem, look for something that frustrates you and frustrates a lot of persons, and of course you can make a lot of money from that. And when you fail, you want to ask the most important questions. I think later on, maybe in this channel or in my book review series, I'm going to talk about the different kinds of failures I have passed through in my life. There was a time I finished my first degree. I had to wait 3 years to get into what we call the NYC, National Youth Service. There was a time back then, even before I finished my first degree, or I think as at the time I was finishing my first degree, I lost about $7,000, precisely about $6,600 and something dollars. That was a big blow. That was a failure for me. So at another time, about 10-11 years, where I had to lose my office. I didn't have any office because some things happened between myself, the renewals I had to do for the office. So I've had my own share of different failures. But when you have failures, when you have issues, one of the things you want to do is to ask the right questions. You want to ask questions. You don't want to ask questions like, what is wrong with me? Why do I always get it wrong? Why am I always being cheated? Why are people so wahala? Like the speaker, what's her name? Shalom. She said, Shiloh. Why are people so problematic? You don't want to ask this kind of question. Why is the country so corrupt? I was just sharing with somebody, my neighbor downstairs, this afternoon when we came back from church. I told him, I said, every country is going to experience issues back to back. That's what said, Nigeria is never going to be better by next year. Never. 2 years ago, I was telling people around me, I said, prepare for the worst. For instance, for myself, I've started preparing for 2026 already in the past 1 month. Since the last quarter, I've started preparing for 2026. 2026 is never going to be better. You're going to have more inflation. The cost of things, the price of things are also going to skyrocket. So it's never going to get better. So you saying your country is corrupt, things are going bad, whether in the UK, whether in the US, wherever you are in the world, things are always going to get bad. It's the simple truth, because I'm a very realistic person. But what you need to do, what you need to tell yourself is that, how can I make the most of the opportunities I have? And that's one way you can stay afloat. You're going to ask yourself, what can I learn? You're going to ask yourself, how do I get better? How do I make my products? How do I make my services better? What questions am I going to be asking my customers? How am I going to do so much better? Then another lessons I learned is that money isn't anything until it makes impact. That's why you see, like I said, when you start working, if you're just starting up in your career, you might not feel this. If you just started working, you might not feel this. But if you've been working for the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, a time is going to, for instance, for myself, I've worked for the past 18 years. So I don't intend to work the way I am working now in the next 3 years. So when you get to work for, when you work for about 10 years counting, a time is going to come. You start understanding that it's not all about work. You start getting dissatisfied because money isn't everything. Working and working and working isn't everything. One thing you need to do is to see how to have a mind shift, right? A mindset shift. You want to follow your frustration. You want to get motivated. You want to see how you can gather input from all of the things you're doing. You want to see how to make social impact, right? Very, very important. You want to see how you can make impact, because when you solve a problem, when you follow your frustration, when you fix issues, that's when you get satisfaction, right? Like the example, the simple example I gave that happened last week, among several others. There was a time in my school fellowship, I belonged to the WhatsApp group, and there's certain kind of things that people normally say in that WhatsApp group. Do you know what I did? I started asking questions like, okay, if you are in this group, these are people that graduated in the past 20 years, in the past 15 years, in the past, people that have graduated for so many years, and some of them can't feed, some of them can't take care of basic expense. So what I did was that this happened like during COVID, after post-COVID, this happened like 2 years ago. What I did was I said, if you know you are here and you don't have a certain amount, did I say like 20 or 50,000 in your account, and you don't have anything doing, and maybe your husband isn't also doing anything, maybe you are married, or either you yourself, or maybe your husband, you guys are not doing anything, and you have an idea of what you want to do, a small business you want to do, and you don't have funds for it, click on this link, join this group, and I'm going to sponsor that. Can you imagine? I had a handful of persons, and what I had to do was that I now started speaking to a few persons, that is alumni. I started speaking to a few persons, and I said, okay, please, I think these persons are getting so much that I can handle. Okay, I'll need you to decide any amount that you want to support me with, and I'm going to add to it, and we're going to sponsor. So we sponsored about 3-4 persons. Some things were happening in the group and things weren't going like the way they should go. I don't mean this group now, I mean the main group, and I had to leave the group because my interest was kind of making sure that you are in a group, you are in the midst of people. You want to make sure that you have the most impact. So do you know that people started selling drinks? One of those ladies, what she started doing, okay, she said, because I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do? How much do you need to do that? And if we loan you this money, I counted it as a loan. Of course, for me, it was money I've given out. How much do you need? How much profit were you going to make in 3 weeks, in 1 month, in 6 months. So if you can convince me by your plan, of course I was going to sponsor that. So see people saying things like, okay, I want to sell drinks, I want to sell bean cake, I want to do different kind of little things. I want to start the POS business and quite a lot of things. And what did I do? I sponsored that, and a lot of people, some of them made a good and a handful profit. So that's what you call social impact. So you're trying to help people from the profit. So what do you want to do? You want to ensure that you make a lot of impact based on the profit. Let's say your salary is 100,000, is $100, it's 50,000, it's 300,000. From that profit that you have, or that income that you have, you can designate a particular amount of money and you give it out. To you, if you still keep that money can make so much to you. I can tell you that. That money is not going to make a lot from you, or is not going to make so much to you, right? So follow your frustration, get motivated, gather input, make social impact. Okay, thank you very much for attending to this series. So the next part we're going to discuss is forms of capital. Forms of capital. So forms of capital are always going to be, what are the different kind of capital that I might need or I might have for my business, or I might have. A lot of people are going to say, okay, I need capital, I need capital, I need capital. So there are different forms of capital. Normally in my notes for this conference, I've known forms of capital as different kind of things, because a lot of people are going to complain that I need money. You want to start a business, you want to take your career to the next level, you want to prepare for 2026. The question is going to be, everybody is going to need one form of capital or the other. But I can bet you that you will not have all forms of capital at the same time. So what are different ways you can have capital for yourself, for your business, for your family, for your enterprise, or for your career? You might say, okay, I want to build my career, I want to build my business, I want to get to the next level. The question is going to be, there are different ways you can have capital. The first one is going to be your mindset capital, knowledge capital, relationship capital, social capital, and digital capital. I'm going to explain each of them and just give simple examples. When we say mindset capital, now, if the speaker for this in this conference said something like, if you don't believe that you can have 1 million in your account, I bet you if 1 million comes into your account, it's going to be gone. If your mindset is just 100,000 naira, $100,000, you can't go beyond that particular amount of money. Now, for instance, for the past 30 days, financially, I've started thinking about, okay, I need to get to this particular threshold. And I've started putting things in place to ensure that I have the mindset shift and I go to a particular level. So there's a lot of things you can do to ensure that you have a mindset shift. So you need to travel, you need to interact with people, you need to see things. You see, some people don't. I remember back then in school, if any of my mates back in school 25 years ago, they are listening to this, they will really laugh. The hostel where I was staying, okay, it's not a private university, it's a public university, it's even a state university. So you find out that a lot of people will normally just come with bus to school when transport within Nigeria was maximum 1,500. This is early 2000, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. These are the period where I went to university. Now, if I'm to go from Abuja to the east, from Abuja to Lagos, I've lived in Abuja all my life. No matter where I've traveled around the world, I've always come back to Abuja. So Abuja is like my home. FCT is always my home. So I told them something just came upon me, and I told my colleagues. It was a Saturday. We're just in school. We're just discussing. We're washing clothes, and I told them. I said, okay, before the end of I started by telling them. I said, do you know that there are mates that we have in this school that actually they take flight to school. They take flight. Oh, my mates will say, ah, no, don't say that. It's not possible. How can you be telling us that people are taking flights to this school and blah blah blah? They were just saying. I said no. I just had that firm belief that okay, people were actually taking flight to school. If after the holiday, people typically take the next bus and get to school. So I told them, I said, people were actually taking flights to school. Everybody shouted and said, no, a lot of them. I said, no, people don't say that. There's nobody in this school, this whole school. I said, no, you cannot tell me that. It was an argument. So I now told them that I said, okay, before we leave school, I was going to take flight to school. Hey, it was something else. Everybody was shouting and said, no, it's not possible. But so that was the end of the conversation. I think I was in my first year then. Fast forward to my third year, I started taking flights to school. So around 2006, 2007, 2008, after I left school, most of the times going back to school or going back home, I was flying. But you needed to start from your mind. So there are some persons, because of their mindset, they've zeroed in their mind that they can't drive a car. They can't stay, a family of 5 or 10 or 6 or 3, they cannot stay in a 2-bedroom flat. They cannot live in a certain environment. They can't get their kids to go to a particular school. They cannot have 1 million in the bank account. They cannot have 5 million in their bank account. They cannot have 10 million in their bank account. It needs to start from the mind, right? So a mindset shift, it's so critical. I was speaking to a friend recently and I told him, I said, if you need to progress from where you are currently, you need to start thinking in certain ways. That's the only way you can ensure that you make such kind of progress. So mindset shift is so important. Like I said, you could read books for your mindset shift. As at 14 years, I've read very awesome books. I've read books like Think Big, The Big Picture, Gifted Hands, Take the Risks. These are 4 books by Ben Carson. Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon in the US. I think he contested for presidency, I think 2000, I don't know. I think at the same time that Trump was contesting for the US presidency. So back then, he has written these books. And these books, they actually shaped me. Books will always help you. And I've always, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I still bought 2 books. Those 2 books are about 10,000 naira. So you want to make sure that at times, if I want to buy books, I said, okay, I have 100,000, I spend the 100,000 and I buy books. Okay, I have let's say 20,000, I buy books. So in most of my offices, I always have a bookshelf where I have books and I read books. And if you cannot afford hard copy books, you also want to make sure that you have soft copy books. Or if you go to YouTube, YouTube is a leveler for knowledge. You go to YouTube, you will see a lot of book reviews. So a lot of top 20 books in relationship, top 20 books in business, top 20 books in tech. You will see people reviewing the entire book. Like I'm trying to summarize notes from the conference, and once I'm done with that, in subsequent series, I'm going to start doing the review for the Shine book. So you want to make sure you read books, you move around, you travel. That's going to open your mind so that you start thinking that okay, I can have a certain amount of money in my bank account, I can make such amount of influence, I can make such kind of social impact, I can help people, I can do certain things, and it's going to only happen when you have mindset shift. So mindset capital is a very important form of capital. Then the next one is knowledge capital. Like in my previous life, I've held 2-3 days ago, I've always told persons that you are as impactful as the amount of knowledge that you have. You are as rich as the amount of knowledge you have. And I'm in the tech business, I'm in the tech space, and one thing I found out is that the more knowledge you have, the more you are a subject matter expert in an area, the more you are an implementation expert in an area, the more cash flow you can have. It's as simple as that. I've been in a conference, not a conference, I think in a WhatsApp group where somebody just asked, I need somebody that's knowledgeable in a certain tech area, blah blah blah. And I just came to the group, and what I just did was to post a link that have a list of some of my certifications, about more than 5 of those kind of certifications in that area. Guess what happened? The next 2 minutes, somebody just started chatting me from a ministry and agency of government and said, okay, we want you to mentor so amount of persons, 20 persons, some coming from Kaduna, some coming from Lagos, coming from southwest, some southeast, and whatever. We want you to, as simple as that. So if you need to have skills, you need to have portfolio, you need to have certification, you need to have validation, you need to have proof of your skill set. Once you have that knowledge, it's going to open doors for you. They need to have relationship. If you have relationship, there's a lot of things you can accomplish. So we call it, at times, another way to look at most of these things is to look at them as OPM. I learned this a long time ago in a particular book. Other people's money, other people's relationship, other people's network. So things that are not yours but they're for others, you can always leverage on it. So you have social capital. So like I run, I'm not a fan of social media. I'm hardly on Telegram. In short, I don't even have Telegram installed on my phone. So I'm just trying to pick up recently. So I'm not a fan of Facebook. I used to have a Facebook account. I'm not a fan of TikTok. I still want to get back to TikTok. But for the past 3 years, I've taken my time to come on YouTube to share a lot of the knowledge I have. That's why if you see on my channel, you are going to have over 20 playlists that have trainings in different categories available free to the public. So that is social digital capital. I know a lot of people that reach out to me from different parts of the world, and they just want to do stuff with me just because of what they've seen on the YouTube channel. So imagine if I have same for TikTok, for Twitter, for all of these platforms, and if I have 3 people contact me every month over my YouTube channel, or 10%, multiply to the number of social media platforms that you're on. So this is not an age of 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. I remember 20 years ago, we used to have what they call high five. Gen Zs will not understand this. There was what they used to call high five. Then there used to be this. Then we have Yahoo Messenger, then MSN. We had those are the most we had when it comes to social media platforms. But now you have a proliferation of several platforms, social media platforms that you can explore either for your business, for your career, for your portfolio. So we say mindset capital, knowledge capital, relationship capital, social capital, and digital capital. So important. Okay. Now the last thing I'm going to be looking at in this life is going to be purposeful leadership. And that's going to bring me to like an excerpt of the summary of this book, right? In subsequent series, I'm going to tell you how you can get this book, no matter where you are within Nigeria, how you can purchase the book. I'm going to be reviewing the book next Sunday, this same time, 7 p.m. I'll take the first chapter like that till I'm done with the 5 chapters. So I'm just going to review them in 45 minutes or in 1 hour each. But today I'm going to start an intro that leads us to review the book. Now, purposeful leadership. Now, this is based off of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 has something to do with God being the creator. So if God is to create, that's to say that God is a worker. The author of the book yesterday, he said something about God being a worker. So, but anybody that can create, anybody that can make something is a worker. Everybody is a worker, and the sole reason why we have that is just because God created everybody in His image. God made man from His image. So work is not actually cost. What is cost is the ground. So God is a worker. When we work, we reflect God's image, right? And God have a purpose for man. God's purpose for man is, okay, go there, dominate the earth, rule, take charge. And if you're not doing that, that means you're not fulfilling God's purpose. So, like I said, work wasn't cost, rather the earth was cost. So, understand that we have business to give him honor. Right? So, what's the shine principle? So, the shine principle is number one, serve others. That's the first thing. So, I'm saying this is going to be an intro to the book review we're going to be having subsequently. So, the first one is serve others. The second one is honor God. Then we have improve continually. Then navigate by values. Right? Excel in relationship. You see, navigating values. Navigate by values. I used to have somebody that I had to stop working with him in one of our offices, our office in the southeast in Owerri. There's this program we used to have for undergraduates. And you see, when somebody is just interested in, okay, let's just make the money. Like I was telling somebody yesterday, I said, see, if I want to make a lot of money, there are several ways to make a lot of money. Somebody have once walked into my office, not even one, so many persons. But let me just share two. Somebody walked into my office and told me, okay, that the brother wants to be a director in one of the ministry, one of the agencies, and he needs to falsify some documents in one of the portals, and he needs somebody to be able to do that. You see, now, if you do that, even if you have the skills to do that, and you do that, you are not navigating, you are not scaling by values. So everybody should have some form of values, right? So your value shouldn't go against purpose, right? Your value shouldn't go against purpose. So I told her, she stayed in my office for the next, let's say 20-30 minutes. I had to say, I will have to leave. She begged. So people come into the office and tell me a lot of things, different kind of things. You see, somebody tells me, okay, I want you to hack this. I want you to do this. I even have wives call me, oh, you're a hacker, you're a cybersecurity analyst. Wives will call me and tell me, okay, I want you to navigate into my husband's phone to do this, to do this, to do this. Now, anything you are doing that goes against the law of the land, in Nigeria, we have what we call the Cybercrime Act. It has been improved. We now have the 2024 version. It used to be 2015. Most countries, either in Ghana, in the US, they have all of these cybersecurity acts. Now, a lot of countries across the world also have what we call the GDPR implementation. That's General Data Protection Regulation. In Nigeria here, we have it as NDPR, National Data Protection Regulation. So anything you do that goes against that law, or goes against biblical principles, or goes against biblical principles, or goes against the law of the land, you are not navigating by values. Everybody, you should have values. So I remember I was somewhere some days, a woman called me and told me, okay, she feels that, okay, she wants to know where the husband is, she wants to know this, she wants to know that, she wants to know that. Now, the only condition for you to be able to do that, because in the eyes of the Lord, these are two persons, they have equal rights. If you don't have legal rights over somebody, take for instance, it's a simple scenario where you can do this, maybe if you're a cybersecurity analyst or you are into maybe tracking and all of that, is where an employer gives an employee a mobile phone to do work, and he wants to track where that employee is. Because there's what we call mobile device management. You want to know where your employee is at every point in time of the day to see if he's actually working. Somebody from one of the states, one of my ex-students, he was just appointed a commissioner for an aspect of government, and he called me. He said he wants to implement an access control system for the commission. He also wants to implement something that has to do with the website for the commission. Now, this access control is to track everybody, track attendance, track a lot of things. You can even hand them over a phone and you can track wherever they are. This is legally correct. But when somebody does not have knowledge that you are tracking the person, that you're already gone against the law. So in your work, everything you do, you must make sure that you're not going against the law. You are honoring God. That is navigating by values. So you should have values that are clear, that have convictions. You want to have convictions and you want to live out those values. Then you want to have integrity. Then I want to speak about improve continually. So the shine principle is serve others, that is S. Honor God, that is H. Improve continually, that is I. Navigate by values, that is N. Then excel in relationships, right? So let me talk about improve continually. So competence is so key. I've done tech for quite some number of years, and I can tell you that one thing that have made me to keep moving is because I want to be as competent as possible, and I want to ensure that I'm continually improving. I have a lot of peers that have been in this game for so many years and they relapse, or they get to now keep doing something else. And not because they just want to pivot, but because they were not continually improving. So every new year, you want to make sure that you pivot to something that attends to your frustration, attends to the needs of people, that can solve problems, and that's the only way you can remain relevant. Once you don't do that in your career, you will die. It's as simple as that. So for next year, there are new set of things I want to make sure that I learn. There are new set of things I want to make sure that I'm doing. There are new set of things I want to ensure that are my passion. I want to now see how to explore. I want to see how to exploit. I want to see how to solve those frustrations, those passions. Just yesterday, before I left for this conference, I started penning down a new business idea. Like I said, the business idea is going to solve stuff that has to do with remote work, that will solve scholarship, that will solve certification. So I'm trying to marry those three things in place, and I'm going to have my wait list available from next week. So you see, these three things now are things that people are anxious about on how they can solve. These are frustrations, these are problems. So how do you solve the problem? So if you can solve these problems, then money is always going to follow. Like if I solve these problems for 100 persons, and each of them pay a certain amount of money, you times that and you can manage that cash flow. But the most important thing is that you are solving problems. Because if you don't solve problems, forget about making money. Okay, that's why we're going to call it a wrap. I have another live coming in the next in the next 15 minutes. And I'm going to be discussing about top 10 tech career path in 2026 and how can you get into them. Right? So that's going to be all for the Shine Conference review. Let me see. I covered from manager to leader. I covered forms of capital. I also covered purposeful leadership and the Shine principle. So next Sunday, 7 p.m. West African time, I'm going to start with chapter 1. I've already marked out the most important sections in the book, and I'm going to be talking about principle 1, which is serve others. So ignite the flame of servanthood. I'm going to address that. And after I'm done with this series, every month I'm going to redo a book review of a series. There are awesome books I want to be reviewing and learn lesson from that. And I'm going to be creating something that looks like an accountability group, where if you're reviewing this book, how can you make sure that you practicalize the book, and how we can actually help each other to grow and make sure that the lessons from the book, the books that we're going to be reviewing, are implemented. If you have comments, if you have questions, you can drop them after the live. You can also contact me. You can reach me. I have a WhatsApp link in the channel. You can just go to the description of the channel. You're going to see that. And I should see you in the next live section by next week for this book. But our tech series is going to continue by 8 15 p.m. today. So in the next 15 minutes, we're also going to go live. We're going to be looking at tech career path that you can explore and you can pivot in 2026. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.